Hey everyone, welcome back to the Shivering Mouse. I'm so excited to have you back here today. Today we're going to talk about the Disney attraction Dinosaur, formerly known as the Countdown to Extinction. The Disney Go description reads, travel back in time on a perilous prehistoric race to rescue a dinosaur before the meteor strikes. You have to be 40 inches tall or 102 centimeters to ride this attraction. It is dark, scary, with small drops and thrills. You must be able to transfer from your wheelchair or ECV onto the ride vehicle, which is pretty typical. Service animals are not permitted at all on this attraction. There is video captioning, assisted living, and assisted living. How many times am I going to do that? Assisted listening or language translation, all available for this attraction. The name was changed from Countdown to Extinction to Dinosaur in order to promote the Disney movie Dinosaur, where we tried to prove that we could function without Pixar, and it didn't go so great. You follow the work of Dr. Grant Seeker. Get it? Get it? He's seeking a grant. And as he goes against his orders and sends you to rescue a dino right before a major asteroid strike. Sounds great, huh? Well, Dr. Marsh didn't want you going in anytime near that asteroid, and she was probably right. But Dr. Grant Seeker wants to rescue a dinosaur and bring him back to our current time, and that was the easiest time to find this particular dino. So you zip through kind of a rough tropical terrain and kind of dodge a bunch of dinosaurs and meteorites as you try to find the particular dinosaur that you're looking for. You bring the iguanodon back, and in the post-show we see Grant Seeker chasing the iguanodon through the halls of the Dino Institute, trying to catch it before he himself gets caught. I think even if he catches the dinosaur, he's still going to be in pretty big trouble. I don't see him getting out of this unscathed, but he's a pretty funny guy. I'm sure he'll, people skills his way out of it. As you get on the ride, there are tubes above your head that are red, yellow, and white. These are still there from the time when McDonald's was the sponsor of this particular attraction, and so you'll notice the chemical equations on them are the chemical formulas for ketchup, mustard, and mayo, respectively. So it's a shout out to that original Meijer sponsorship. The ride vehicle for this attraction was originally made for Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye over in California, and so that really realistic motion, you really do feel like you're kind of off-roading in a Jeep for that, and this was the exact same track used for that particular attraction. One thing I want to say about this one, even though the story is very simple, you go back in time, you get a dinosaur, you come back, the ride itself is really, really intense. This one, even in my 30s, gets my pulse going probably more than most of the attractions at Disney. Like, this one scares me more than Splash Mountain, and there's no really intense drop on this one. It's very loud, the ride is kind of rough, and like I said, it really feels like you're off-roading in a Jeep. My stated purpose of this show and the podcast is to help you know which attractions are going to best suit your party when you go to Disney, and in that light, I do want to go ahead and caution you if your party contains those who are of a, I don't want to say cowardly disposition, but those who are not ready for something truly, truly scary, this may be one to skip. If your kiddo is, starting to get kind of antsy on the queue to Haunted Mansion, I would kind of urge you to, as long as they meet the height requirements, kind of help them muscle past that, because the ride is not really that scary once you get into it. It's much more funny than scary. This one, I think you should respect little Timmy's wishes. If he meets the height requirements, but he's really afraid before you even get on the ride, Because this one, the queue is a lot less scary than the actual attraction. And this attraction is pretty intense. Like, it's very immersive. You feel like you really have been thrown back in time. And you literally get chased by monsters. And, you know, Haunted Mansion, nothing really gets close to your body. Nothing's really coming at you. Sure, some zombies pop up from behind graves, but that's about as scary as it gets. This one, you're actively pursued by large animatronic dinosaurs. And so I can see how if you have a younger or, you know, more skittish member of your party, or frankly just somebody with a lot of heart trouble, this may not be the attraction for you. On the other hand, your teens who have been, you know, puffing out their lower lips and trying not to make eye contact with any princesses, they're gonna love this one. But just you know, maybe have a bit of a tender heart for some of the more skittish members of your party. Like I said, little Timmy might be terrified, and unless you packed an extra pair of pants for little Timmy, this may be something you want to skip. But your teens are going to love it. Your young adults are going to love it. I mean, literally, there was a man with a pacemaker who once had a heart attack while exiting the ride because the ride's really intense. So just use good judgment as far as your scare tolerance and your pre-existing conditions. So that's all I've got to say about this one. It is absolutely one of my favorites. So even though the description was not super long because there's not a big story, and of course it's not like most of the rides at the Magic Kingdom have a whole lot of actual history behind them, especially behind their California counterparts. This one doesn't really have a huge backstory. The story to it is pretty simple. It's just that immersive environment where you really do feel like you're in the jungle being chased by dinosaurs. I mean, it's very realistic and very intense, and that's really the biggest thing to say about this. That being said, it is, as I said, one of my favorite attractions. I can handle a lot of thrills like that, though, and it doesn't bother me. And so to me, this has always been one of my favorite attractions. I adore it. It is so much fun, but I don't scare super easy. A lot of people do, and for those people, this may be something you want to hold off on. I kind of like the bumpy ride experience too, because it just makes it all that more realistic, and the quick turns and whipping around. It's kind of like how in a movie when they cut through scenes really, really quick, like Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho during the shower scene, how they cut and cut and cut the camera angle, so you never really see a lot of what's going on. Your mind fills in the gaps and makes it as terrifying as your mind can imagine. This kind of does that to an extent, because you whip around corners and turn so fast you never can focus on any one particular stimulus very long, and so it kind of has that same effect. And because your mind kind of fills in those gaps, it makes it scarier than it really needs to be. My nieces put this one on their top 10 list, and they are pretty young. So, I mean, prepubescent. So, but they're both pretty brave, especially Lyndon, the younger one. They're pretty tough cookies. So, you know, this is going to be one that varies from kid to kid. If little Timmy is easily frightened, this might be one to skip. If your 5-year-old is tall enough and they're just a trooper, like they're a sergeant, they're not scared at all, bring them aboard. This one is going to be one that really depends on the bravery tolerance and frankly the monster tolerance of your party. But I did want to caution you guys about that ahead of time, because I don't want somebody to be like, oh, you told me this ride is so fun and my kid is traumatized for life. He's been in therapy for 6 months and it's cost 3 times as much as the Disney trip did. Yeah, I want to warn you about that. This one, I think, is one of the more intense attractions as far as not only immersiveness, but scare factor. And so, I do want to warn you about that. But for a lot of people, that's not a bad thing. That's actually the sell point. So, for me, that's the sell point. I love that. It's exciting. For my grandma, maybe not so much. So, oh, yeah, also, if you have, like, neck or joint problems, it doesn't mention that specifically, I think, in the safety information, but this one does kind of jiggle and jerk you around a lot. There is kind of a neck and back safety warning on Expedition Everest, and I think this one's a lot jigglier than that. So if that jiggly off-roading feeling is going to be a problem, this is one to watch out for, too. But overall, I think for your general theme park visitor, this is going to be an incredible experience. Absolutely go ahead and hop on. You can, as always, contact me at patreon.com/shiveringmouse, Facebook, and YouTube. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend.